Welcome to episode 33 of Talking Prisoner. We have another amazing and beautiful guest with us today. She appeared in episode 574 until the cliffhanger 600 of Prisoner in 1985 to 1986. Our guest is also known for her two regular roles prior to Prisoner in two classic Australian TV shows called Cop Shop and The Young Doctors. Firstly, as Kim Barrington in The Young Doctors and Constable Amanda King in Cop Shop. Our guest has also been in Shark's Paradise, Echoes of Paradise, The Flying Doctors, Chances, All Together Now, Cluedo, Home and Away, and Crawl. She subsequently left acting to focus on animal rights. We are, of course, talking about the Phantom Lagger, evewilder. Welcome to Talking Prisoner, Lynda Stoner.
Thank you. It's an absolute joy to be here. Lovely to see you both.
Thank you so much. And good morning, Ken.
Good morning. Hi. Hi, Lynda.
Hi, Ken.
Now, can we ask you about your school time and did you have a favourite subject or an unfavourite subject for that matter?
I loved school. I'm one of those weird people. I absolutely loved it. And my mum wanted to split my sister and I up because we were super close. And so she sent my sister to a co-ed school. And I know it's not very fashionable, but I remained so happy that I was in an all-girls school because there were no distractions. And it was a high school in South Australia called Vermont High, which is now no longer. And they had an amazing drama department and an art department. And I just loved school. And my favorite subject was English. And I was top of the school in English in successive years. And I would, do my English homework in lunchtime and recess because I just loved it so much. And the things I didn't love were maths and science. So, no, for me, school was a joy. Yeah.
I don't think we've had a cast member come on yet that has said they love maths. So we'll still...
I've got no competition with me.
What did your parents do for a living?
My biological father, I think he drank for a living. Mum married my proper father when I was about 12, and my sister's 18 months younger than me, and he was my dad, and he was an accountant, so yeah, and Mum was a baker, and she was an amazing cook, and she was a pretty incredible woman, back before we really, apart from the suffragettes, we didn't really speak about, women's liberation too much back then. But Mum lived it, she walked the talk. She, at one point before she married my father, she was holding down 3 jobs to look after my ailing grandmother and my sister and I. And she would ride my sister and I to school on a bicycle. She had a little carry basket on the back for my sister. I would be on the seat and Mum would stand the whole way. She had amazing gloves, great legs. And she would pedal us to school. I mean, she was, the Renaissance woman back then. And I have nothing but admiration for her and for her singularly sensible choice of men to marry the second time round.
Fantastic.
When did you know you wanted to be an actress, and what did your parents think when you told them?
Ken, I wanted to be an actress from my very first memory. Mum used to force my sister and I to go to Sunday school. That was her only reprieve from us. And at Sunday school, they would have, once a year, they would have showings of plays. And so I would write plays. Obviously, I was starring in them, and dragged my poor sister into it and one of our neighbours' children. And they were so bad. And my poor mother, when the collection plate went around to, show who'd won, Mum had to sort of put her hard-earning coins in to bring it up. I knew then that's what I wanted to do. And so when I was still at school, I used to get work as doing props and, you know, stage management and anything, so I could be around theatre. So I worked at 3 different theatres in Adelaide, and then I finally got a walk-on role, and then the roles got bigger, and I did a lot of theatre in South Australia. And what did my parents think? When I was a kid, it was okay. It was, that's cute. But when I told them, no, I mean it, this is what I want to do. And I was working at Qantas then in Adelaide, and my dad, ever practical, said, they've got a good pension plan there. Lynn, you don't want to leave this good job. And I'm like, I'm 18. I'm not thinking about my pension right now. And and I remember when I was little, and I told my auntie that I wanted to be an actor, and she didn't actually physically pat me on the head, but she verbally did. So, yes, dear, that's nice. And yeah. So it wasn't a rousing, enthusiastic way that they received my news.
Okay. Now, spare time, I know you probably don't have a lot of it, but do you have any hobbies that you like to do when you do have some?
My favorite thing ever since I was a small person, from the moment I could read, are books. I eat books. I can't get enough. I've got 3 Leaning Tower of pizzas, of books to come, and I keep adding to them. And when I look at them, my mouth literally waters. My beautiful stepdaughter's children think I'm really weird, because when I get a book and I have to smell it, it's like the anticipation. Therefore, reading a Kindle book is totally out of the question. Yeah. I have to hold it, smell it, love it, look forward to it. So books and the beach. My happy place is to be at the beach reading. That's the best thing. Yeah.
Are you one of those people that starts a book and then puts it down after a few chapters and opens another one?
No. Okay. I mean, if it's really, I do a lot of research before I buy books, because I spend a fortune on them. So I make sure that the people that I admire, who've said this is a good book, you can't put it down, whatever, and that it's never happened that I've had a dud read ever. And besides, life's too short. If I was given a book that I couldn't get into immediately, I probably would put it, I'd probably give it away, because there's so many books out there and I don't have that many years left in me. So I just want to read books that I really, really want to.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Yes, I understand that too, because I sometimes read 3 or 4 at the same time. So at the moment,
wow,
I'm reading Marquita Littlewolf's book, a couple of books by Brian Williams, the actor and producer and director, and also a book on Stanley Kubrick, a biography on him, and another one on Dorothy Parker.
Oh my, you do have eclectic taste. What, they all sound delicious. And can you tell me the first one again, please?
Marquita Littlewolf, her book.
Yeah.
She, I'm sure you would know that she was a singer here in Australia, and her father was Chief Littlewolf. And I would dearly love to get her to appear on Talking Prisoner Presents as well. She'd be fabulous. Lovely lady. Now, moving to food. Can you tell us what your favourite food is?
Well, I'm a long-time vegan. I became vegetarian about 46 years ago, and I've been vegan for 15 years, not long enough. And so vegans are hedonists when it comes to food. That's what we talk about. That's what we anticipate. If a new restaurant opens up, we're there. My son and his partner work in a vegan supermarket, which is deadly for me because I only have to ring them. And so I just love, like tonight I'm going out with a friend to an Ethiopian African restaurant, and they have fantastic vegan options. And I love all food that's vegan, Korean food, Chinese, Indian. The whole world is opened up to us. The rise of veganism across the globe for various reasons. Some do it for the environment, some people do it for animals, and some people do it for their health. But it's like this gigantic snowball, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So
yeah, it is. I
like eating.
Netflix brought out some documentaries a couple of years ago, and that opened my eyes. I mean, I had no idea, I'll be honest. And since then, my partner and I have made a conscious effort to maybe meet once a week, and that's it. And the other 6.
That's great.
Yeah. And I mean, and you do feel better. I mean, I have to say, you do feel much better.
Yep. But it's a fallacy to think that vegans don't get overweight. Because now we can get, like hundreds of kinds of ice cream.
Frozen. Are you still there, Lynda?
Okay. Well, I'm here.
I'm here. It's just
Hedonists.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah. Great.
We're back. Yeah, so getting back to what we were talking about, being vegan. Yes.
Yes. So vegans are hedonists. People think we live this life of, a very strict regime and everything is very sensible, but it's not. The vegan options across the world are there's nothing that vegans don't indulge themselves with, including ice cream and whipped cream and chocolates, and there's just everything. There's some of us, not really, sort of bemoan the fact that there is such an opulent abundance of choices, because the moment anything vegan comes on the market, you say, oh my God, I gotta get that. So yeah, food is good.
Is there ever a time where you miss having a steak? You just go on,
oh my God.
Nah, the thought of it.
I can't even walk. Oh, Matt, it just makes my stomach royal. It just, the thought of consuming animal flesh I haven't done it for 46 years. I can't even walk past a butcher shop without looking away. It's just, to me, it's just a bunch of corpses hanging in the window, and it's just like, no, I don't miss any of it at all. No, I find it just totally repugnant.
It's amazing. I mean, those documentaries we watch were just really eye-opening. And, there's all these bodybuilders and people in the gym that are eating, 5 steaks a day for the protein. And now they go, well, I can eat spinach and get the same effect.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, there's protein in everything. Even cabbage has got some protein. So this whole, the meat industry is so powerful, and their propaganda is so well funded that people just believe that you must have meat, and yet we probably eat too much protein. To be honest, there's very few things that don't have protein in them. So I don't take any vitamin tablets. I mean, if I'm being stupid about what I eat, if I'm being really cavalier and just lackluster about what I eat because I'm busy, and then I will have, some green powder in an orange juice, but that's all. I don't need to take anything else. I mean, I get my bloods done regularly, and, my B12 levels are high. I don't take B12 supplements. My iron levels are high. I don't need to compensate. This is just rubbish that's perpetuated by the dairy and the meat industries.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I haven't had milk for a long time. I mean, I've had...
No, I knew it's bad for you.
Yeah. I mean, but at school... You're told just to drink milk every day as a kid. Milk will make you strong.
I know.
And then you find out it's not great for you.
not at all. And I well remember, I'm way older than you are, at school, in infant school, and they would leave the milk out in the heat. And it was just really, it was horrible. So, I mean, that's how persuasive these industries are, that they could afford to drop off, you know, to get kids addicted to this noxious substance. Nah. There's so many, you can get milk.
Have you seen those documentaries on Netflix about the, you know?
Some of them, yeah. But and I know the one that you're talking about with the weight bills. I think Arnie Schwarzenegger's in it as well. He's big. I haven't watched that one, but I do because I work in this space, you know, every day. You can often feel like you're overloaded with this sort of stuff. So yeah, these days I kind of pick and choose, and you know, I'm totally converted. So, but I do suggest that people do watch those films, because they tell the truth, and you know, people will live better and the earth will live longer if people do follow that.
Yeah. And I thought it was great that Arnie did that. I mean, you know, what a guy to come out, you know, big guy, and he's just a, you know, vegan or vegetarian, whatever he's doing, and no more meat.
But paid to the very, very old persona about vegans being pale and wan and, you know, all of that. It's rubbish. It's more rubbish propaganda. And so many more sports people and bodybuilders and, you know, people across the spectrum, including the Williams sisters, you know, are powered by plants and doing extremely well on it.
Actually, I read an article somewhere that the actor Gerard Kennedy actually started being a vegetarian when you
I had such a crush on him. That's when I was working at Crawford's, and Judy McBurney and Gerard were the only people I knew back in the day who didn't eat animals. And I would see Gerard across the, you know, very crowded cafeteria at Crawford's, and, you know, wistfully want to go and talk to him about these things. But I was too nervous to, and he didn't wear leather back then either. He wore like slippers and things. And I just still think the sun shines out of him. And Judy, of course.
Yeah. Now, going off subject, so TV shows, is there any favorite TV shows that you like to watch if you have time?
I'm going to sound very bad now because I haven't seen Wentworth, and I will make up for that. I will. I do love watching Australian content, and the last two things I saw were The Newsreader. And I don't write to television stations as a matter of course, but I wrote twice saying, please, please, please make a second series of this show. If it was a book, I couldn't put it down. I loved it. And Total Power. And that was written and produced by Rachel Griffiths. And I waited till series 2 was up in total so I could binge watch it. I love Australian content. I really do.
We spoke to Mel Walden a few weeks ago, and he said The Newsreader was great too. Yeah,
it is. It's fantastic. It's just the acting, the writing, the memories it conjures for those of us who were around at the time. You know, it's a wonderful show. They have to have more series.
You worked from 1977 to 1979. You played Kim Barrington on The Young Doctors. The Young Doctors was developed by Reg Watson and had many brilliant writers, but also including prisoner royalty Ian Bradley, who we spoke to in episode 4 of Talking Prisoner. can you tell the fans about your time in The Young Doctors and about the character you played? And did you have to audition for the role of Kim?
I didn't have to audition, Ken. I was fortunate to just be offered the role. And it was, I'd done a show called Hotel. It was a pilot prior to that, but my main work was on stage before The Young Doctors. So that was a big learning curve for me. And I learned a lot doing Young Doctors. I adored the cast and the crew. I was in it for quite some years, actually, yep. And you know, just beautiful people. And I shared a house with Tony Alvarez and John Dommett, who were, you know, very important to the show. And I had a ball. I had a wonderful time. It was, for someone really just coming into television, I couldn't have asked for a better group of people. And I loved doing the show. I really did. It was fun, and that they were really good storylines. I think they were quite gripping, and we were churning out 2.5 hours of television every week.
Oh wow!
And you know, yeah, and but I was very young, and you know, we were all able to do it, and yeah, no, it was a fun time of my life. Yeah.
Now, I know it was a long time ago, but there was a lot of prisoner cast members that were on the show with you, and 3 that I just want to bring up quickly, and if you can just maybe share a memory, if you have one, of Judy McBurney, Anne Lucas, and Peter Topano that were also on The Young Doctors with you.
Yeah, I didn't... mind you, I don't trust my memory entirely these days, but I don't remember actually working with Peter Topano in The Young Doctors. I did work with Peter, though, later on stage with an amazing English actor called Martin Shaw, who and it was a show about Elvis, and he was eerily like Elvis. He could sing, you couldn't tell the difference, play the guitar, everything. It was an amazing... Marsha Hines was in it, and Peter Topano, and it was an incredible cast. So I did work with Peter on that. Judy McBurney, I just adored. Absolutely loved that woman. And sadly, a couple of years ago, she passed away. And, you know, we, a lot of us from The Young Doctors reunited to honour Judy, you know, including Peter Loughran and just a lot of people, Chris King, lots of us there to just pay homage to this truly beautiful human being. She was so gentle. And Annie Lucas, I was very fond of. Yeah, she's amazing.
Now, Gwen Plum, who was on the show from episode 1 as Ada Simmons, and she's also been in a lot of TV shows like Consider Your Verdict, Neighbours, Richmond Hill, Home and Away, The Harp in the South. What was it like working with Gwen?
Oh, my goodness. Now, I said that my parents were kind of squiffy about me going into acting, but when my grandma... because we grew up with the radio, you know, we'd all the little brown radio on the kitchen table. That was our lifeline to the world. Yeah. And all of the soap operas and, you know, Blue Bottle or Green Bottle, and just all of it came from the radio. And Gwen Plum was, you know, queen of that. And so when they found out I was working with Gwen, that elevated my status in their eyes somewhat. and Gwen, such a pro, such a pro, loved to chat, and she wielded that cafeteria with a rod of iron. She broke no nonsense, but she was wonderful, just wonderful. Yeah.
And how good were those old radio plays? I thought they were brilliant.
Oh, they were stunning. There was Scotland Yard, Dr. Paul. Oh, and you know, my sister and my favorite was Green Bottle, because that was set in a school where, you know, hitting kids was part of the course, but it was extraordinary. It was a very silly show, but we loved it. It made us very happy. Yeah, it was a treat, and to this day I get my news from the radio. Yeah, I'm a radio junkie. Yeah.
That the name of that show was called Yes What?
That's right, Ken. Yeah. Did you love it?
It was fantastic, but I also liked Blue Hills.
Of course, Blue Hills. Yeah. So many wonderful radio programs and stars back then. It was a different time, and I'm so glad that I'm old enough to have those memories and to have, you know, life is a bit crazier these days, and you know, back when I was a kid it was softer, gentler, and but I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff about living in today's age that I'm so grateful for, like having a chat with you two across Zoom. That's pretty amazing.
The lovely days of Tarzan and Superman as the 6 o'clock 15-minute programs. And that's when, of course, I got to hear Leonard Teal. And then 1 minute later, I'm standing in Channel 7 canteen, and he's standing in front of me talking to Liz Harris.
Oh, wow.
Oh, they were married, weren't they?
Yes.
Were they married, Ken? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. They were together for a long time anyway.
As good as, yeah.
They often play radio plays on, well, they did when Bruce Mansfield was alive on 3AW. They'd put one on at night, and I love to listen to them. And, you know, I wasn't around back in the 60s, of course, but it just makes you think back to what life was like back then, the family sitting around the table and having dinner and listening to a radio play, and how times would have been simple and different compared to now. It does take you back. I love listening to them.
Yeah, it does. And my grandma was the boss, and so we were allowed to listen to the soap operas and that sort of thing, and the news, you know, it was always on when the news was on. But if any music started to come on, poof, it went off. So we were music deprived.
Going back to the young doctors again, 2 questions. Can you tell us why you left the young doctors, and were you shocked when you heard it was cancelled?
I was offered the role of Amanda King in Cop Shop by Channel 7, and I felt that it was time to sort of shake my life up a bit and shake it up. It certainly did. I mean, I had to move and live in Melbourne, which was no hardship, and just, you know, join a new cast and just, and yes, I was shocked when I heard Young Doctors had finished. It was like one of those Blue Hills thing. You just thought it was going to go on and on and on. So, but my goodness, a lot of actors, including Russell Crowe, got, you know, their first TV break in that show. It was very important to many, many people, including viewers, of course.
Yeah. It was a great show. And what, it was cancelled by, Ken? Because of the
apparently because of the success of the Sullivans, which I also got a chance to work on.
Wow.
Yeah, Crawford was very busy at that time, weren't they, Ken?
Oh yes, they were the powerhouse of Melbourne and Victoria.
They certainly were, absolutely. And my goodness, they turned out some quality TV programs. That's why I was saying when I saw Gerard Kennedy, it was from a distance, because there were so many shows being filmed at one time that the canteen, which was ginormous, was just, you know, full of people, and you'd only have a set amount of time to get something to eat, and poof, you'd be back again. So, yeah, it was the heady days of television back then.
Yeah. Now, speaking of quality TV, Cop Shop, so it ran from 1977 to 1983 for 582 episodes. You appeared in 384 episodes as Constable Amanda King. How did you get the part on Cop Shop? Oh, so obviously you were offered the part from being on the phone.
Well, I was offered the part, but only after I had auditioned, and I would, without a word of exaggeration, I would say that every woman of that age auditioned. It was extraordinary, and I still to this day can't believe that I got it. And I'm not being, you know, I just was flabbergasted when I got it, because, you know, I can remember some of the women who auditioned. Anyway, I did audition, and for some reason they chose me, and that's wonderful. And then I, after about 3 years, I think I took a year off Cop Shop, because I'd become part of the animal rights movement back then. And the thing that triggered me to, you know, part of my epiphany was seeing harp seal pups being skinned alive in Newfoundland, in Canada. And I was given the opportunity to go to Canada to protest. And of course, there was no way I was not going to do that. And soon after that, I'd been fostering a little girl in Mali in West Africa, and I was, you know, just extraordinary. The chance to go to West Africa and meet Guanacera and do a documentary on the plight of people there was too great. There's no way I wasn't going to do that. And so, yeah, I did that. And then there was a huge $1 million rodeo that lobbed into Melbourne, and they were going to test run it. And the price, the pocket for that, winning that rodeo, was a huge, back then was a huge amount of money. And it involved Americans and Canadians and Australians, and it went from Melbourne to Sydney. And so that took up quite a chunk of the January, as I recall, in Melbourne, and they ended up going bankrupt. And a colleague of mine, I work with him still to this day, we took the rodeo to court because they were using underage calves, and won. And so that was that year that I took off Cop Shop. And I also met my husband to be Peter Sumner. And so it was a full and rich year. And then I went back to Cop Shop, and at the same time, Paula Duncan and I got pregnant about a month aside of each other. And because Paula was married in the show, she was allowed to be pregnant, but I was an unwed woman. So they had to hide me behind desks and, you know, put me in marquee sort of dresses and things. And look, to be honest, I think it had reached its natural conclusion. It was an extraordinary time working in Cop Shop, personally, with the cast that we had. We were all so close, and we all went through life events, you know, things like divorces and marriages and, you know, babies and, you know, the terrible fires that Victoria went through back then. And Greg Ross lost his house, and we just went through the whole spectrum of emotions together, and we were a very tight-knit group. And it was a glorious, glorious time of my life. And we had incredible guest actors come onto that show. And it was a time of our lives like that. I don't think there's anyone from the Cop Shop cast who would disagree with that. It was extraordinary.
Yeah.
Cop Shop won many awards, and Peter Adams, who later went on to play Governor Bob Moran in Prisoner, and Paula Duncan, who played Lorelei Wilkinson, won many Logies on Cop Shop. Yeah. What are your memories working with Peter and Paula?
Well, I can't separate those two actors out when I think of Cop Shop, I think of the company as, you know, just it's impossible. I mean, I love Joanna Lockwood, Gil Tucker, Terry Norris, John McTernan. We were there, you know, when the tragic news came through that Bill Stalker had been killed in a motorbike accident. We were supposed to shoot his wedding, the next day. So many things, so many beautiful people. So, you know, of course, I loved working with Paula and Peter and Orch, but I loved all of them, and I still do. And we're having a Cop Shop reunion in the middle of this year, COVID notwithstanding. Yeah.
And Paul's
we had a
with you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Are you surprised how popular Cop Shop is still to this day, that they're holding an event for, you know, fans?
No, not at all. It meant so much to to people of my age back then. People loved it. They just loved it. They loved the crimes and the ongoing, you know, soapy aspect of things, and it was a beloved show. And we did a prisoner reunion about 2 years ago as well, which was equally joyful. But there seemed to be many more hardcore fans of Prisoner, I think, than Cop Shop. It was just, Prisoner was something else altogether.
Now, and for the fans, they can go to the Cop Shop reunion fan page to get to
thank you.
23rd of July to meet you and the other cast of Cop Shop. Now, was there a big difference working on Cop Shop as a Crawford production compared to a Grundy's production with Prisoner in the way they did things?
Yeah, there was. I don't want to denigrate any time I had with Grundy's or with the Young Doctors, but I don't know, Cop Shop just seemed more substantial. The Crawford's way of doing things was like you would expect the walls and the doors of the Young Doctors might fall down if you were too hard with them, but the Cop Shop structure seemed in all ways, it just it was I loved working for Crawford's. I really did. And Hector Crawford had an open door policy, you know, and I mean his door literally was open. And Ian Crawford, and you know, that we would go to their homes. I remember my eldest stepdaughter playing the piano at Hector's place, and it was just very, very much more family oriented than Grundy's was, much more so.
Ken's got memories of Crawford's too.
Yes, Ian Crawford and I used to play correspondence chess for a period of time.
Oh.
But I worked on a lot of Crawford shows, beginning with Consider Your Verdict, then the very first episode of Homicide, Matlock Police, Showcase, Video Village, you know, lots of Crawford's productions. So, and as a messenger boy at Channel 7 in the early 1960s, I used to go up to the Crawford's building, Fleetwood or something. I can't remember it now. But
yeah, I can't remember now.
The old wrought iron lift that used to go up between the floors, and the lino on the floors, and all the stairs creaked and so forth and so on. But they were a very professional group. And of course, going back into radio with D24.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Hector came to my engagement party, and so did Ian and Mercedes. It was just, that's the difference. Grundy's was way over there, up there, separate. Crawford's were it was just part of a big family.
Yeah. Did the Victorian Police ever consult to Cop Shop to give you ideas about it, or what to do, not to do?
Actually, no is the short answer, but Paula and I did go out to a shooting range with the police, and that was fun. And I was having problems with a couple of stalkers back then, and they were coming around, and I was living in a tiny little hut thing near Channel 7, and I had 3 little dogs at the time, and you know, you wouldn't get home till 11 o'clock, and it was, you know, pitch dark, and the amount of times I had to call the South Melbourne police, it was just creepy. Oh, and it came out that in a book about him that Chopper Reed had been hired to, you know, take me out.
Take you out?
I didn't know that until, yeah. So, you know, and I'd get weird letters, and it was just a creepy time, that aspect of it. And so I'd ring the South Melbourne police, and they became such friends of mine that, you know, I'd get home at 11 o'clock at night, and there'd be about 3 patrol cars outside my house.
Oh, wow.
And they'd come in and have a cup of tea, and it was lovely. So while they didn't consult with us, they were certainly an integral part of my life.
That's great.
Did you actually leave Cop Shop?
By the time Paula and I were really showing our pregnancies, it was decided that it was probably as good a time as any to shut the show down. And I think that was a right decision. I really do. I mean, we'd explored all manner of things, and I think it just reached its natural conclusion. It wasn't a shock, you know.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about animal rights, and you left acting to focus on animal rights. How did you come to that decision?
While I was doing Cop Shop, I started volunteering on weekends for Friends of the Earth. And while that, you know, that was a very a good organisation to be doing anything with, there was still something inside of me that it didn't answer. And I was talking to people there, and one of them said to me, "Oh, you've got to get this book written by Professor Peter Singer called Animal Liberation." And so when I finished my stint, I got the book. And I'd read 4 chapters in the taxi on the way back to South Melbourne, and that was it. My life forever changed. Forever changed everything I did from that moment on. And it's not that I stopped acting, because I did go on acting, but more and more the animal rights movement was more. I just had to do it. It was like it found me. And I'm so glad that I'm able to work for Animal Liberation. You know, it's an honor and it's a privilege. And so while I didn't make a conscious decision, no more acting, it just happened that I ended up doing more and more for the animal rights movement. I did go back into acting about maybe 5 years ago now. I was asked to do a guest role on the movie Crawl, and I had such fun. It was glorious not to be looking at horrible things, you know, and to just have fun. And I enjoyed it so much. Yeah. So, and you know, never say never. I don't know. Who knows? Life is amazing.
Sure is. Now, you're the chief executive of Animal Liberation. Is there a website that the fans can go to check it out as well?
Yes, please. Just www.animal-lib.org.au. And
we'll also place a link as well on here. So that takes up a lot of your time now, is what you look after.
It's full-time. It's my full-time job. Yeah. Yep.
And is it any government funded, or it's all...
No, no, the government don't like us at all. They don't like us one little bit, because we're fighting, you know, gazillion-dollar industries that they make huge money from, So we don't get tax deductibility or anything like that. And now it's getting harder and harder because we've been so effective, and because more and more people are becoming aware of what happens in Australia. People were more inclined to say, oh, but that happens overseas. And it's not true. It happens here in this country. And so each state, one by one, has imposed these ag-gag laws, which came out of America. And that is ostensibly to crush the voices of animal rights activists. So, you know, you can be jailed now for showing things. There's a High Court federal challenge about these laws happening in 3 weeks' time. So,
really?
You know, we're avidly waiting for that. Yep, it's so draconian. It's so George Orwell. It's crazy. You know, more and more our civil liberties are being eroded, and that's a reality. It's frightening, really frightening. So we depend on the fact that the public think that what we're doing is worthwhile and honest. And I guess the fact that we don't get government funding means that we're not censored. We can tell the truth, and we're not obliged to, you know, mamby-pamby to anybody. We can just tell it straight. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that about the High Court thing at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, just to change the subject slightly, let's get to one of the greatest Australian TV shows of the time, Prisoner. You appeared in 26 episodes towards the end of the 1985 series, into the final series in 1986. How did you get the part of evewilder, and had you auditioned for any other roles before that?
No, marietrevor, Happy Trevor's mum, I'd known her from the cop shop days, and she just, she offered it to me, which was fabulous. So happily I didn't have to audition, because I don't think many actors find them a fabulous, enjoyable thing to do. So Peter and our little baby boy Luke moved down to Melbourne again. And I loved working on that show. I loved it. I got real lucky with the cast. We spent as much time laughing as we did working. It was just the best time. And I loved working with such strong women. It was fabulous. The flip side to that was you would, you know, you'd get to the set and it would be pitch black. By the time you got home, it was pitch black. I was working in winter in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And I had to leave my little fellow, and I did that for 3 months, and I couldn't do it anymore. You know, I couldn't leave him with someone else to care for my boy. So I said to the producers that, you know, because they said that they wanted me to be the Phantom Lagger if I stayed on, and, you know, that would have been fabulous as well. Not that anyone could play the Phantom Lagger better than Louise Siverson. But I said, no, I'm going. I'm really going, and I can't come back. Can we do something explosive with this? And they came through. They certainly came through with a memorable ending for evewilder,
which we do want to get to shortly. Were you a fan of the show prior to coming on it? Like, did you watch it? Or was it a show that you
I really enjoyed it. And I have very fond memories of it. And then there are other parts of my my aging grey matter where I can't remember a damn thing, and I make myself feel better by saying, but I've got lots of things in my head. I can't remember everything. And so I went on. I don't like looking at myself. I find that just no. Because you always think, oh my God, what are you thinking of? You should have done that. And why didn't you do that? It's all sort of negative stuff. So I don't watch myself. But in preparation for the joy of speaking with both of you, I did watch an episode on YouTube last night about the talent competition, and I don't remember filming it. And that's frightening. And I really loved watching it. I was grabbed, and now I want to know what happens after the end of that episode. And I can see why people get addicted to soaps, because, you know, you're left like radio used to do with a cliffhanger. And so it's for me, I can see some wonderful, you know, viewing ahead of things that I have no memory of. Isn't that sad?
Did you actually get any character breakdown on Eve Wilder before you started?
Yes, I knew that she would be fun to play because she was the first baddie I had ever played, and I knew that that would be a bit juicy and highly enjoyable. So yeah, I knew what Eve was all about when I came in.
Yeah. Now, Eve was a very glamorous prisoner and was never seen in the drab blue denim, which was rare in Wentworth. Now, this is also a fan question from Pete Town from Kent, UK. One of my favourite characters. So excited for this. My question is, you were dressed exclusively by designer Trent Nathan. Did getting to wear designer clothes cause any resentment or awkwardness from other actors in the denim? And And how do you think Eve would have coped once she ended up in uniform?
I don't recall any resentment. I do recall quite a lot of piss takes. I didn't care. I was wearing Trent Nathan. Yeah. I had big shoulder pads. Yeah. I rocked. I did not know that going into the show that I'd be wearing Trent Nathan clothes. So that was a, you know, very happy surprise.
Yeah. And I mean, it was rare on Prisoner to see someone so glamorous, you know, in prison.
I know. On remand, I kept saying, I'm on remand.
Now, your character Eve was involved in a lot of storylines in a really short amount of time. Did you have a standout memory of one of your favorite storylines on the show?
Well, yes. I mean, hurting Mrs. Barry is a strong memory. Yeah. And my demise was hard to forget. Yeah.
Which we will get to in a second.
You worked with a lot of people in the show. Who did you enjoy doing scenes with the most?
Again, Ken, I can't single out anybody. I've heard some cast members say that they had a not so good time in Prisoner, but I was very lucky to work with the women that I did, because we just all got on like a house on fire. And I think I said a bit earlier that we spent as much time laughing as we did working, and it was wonderful. And no, I just loved all of them. And you know, as I said, we had a Prisoner catch-up, so I got to see some people a couple of years ago. And Maggie Kirkpatrick, legend, I got to have a Zoom with her last year, which was just lovely. And so now I have very, very fond memories of all the women I worked with. It was a very cohesive group of people.
Yeah. Maggie, we had on a few weeks ago. She was amazing.
Oh, yeah. Love her.
Speaking of amazing women, Louise Siverson, you had some amazing scenes with. What was it like working with Louise, who we spoke to many months ago? And yeah.
I loved working with Lou. Absolutely love the woman. She's just she's a powerhouse and such a good actor. And, you know, we had to do some pretty hard stuff together at times. And it was always, you know, the moment the take was over, oh my God, are you all right? Are you all right? Are you all right? So, but, you know, when camera was rolling, it was, you know, everybody was professional and just in the moment and into what we were doing. So Lou and I got to work together a lot, and it was a joy to work with her.
Yeah, she was amazing.
Now, Eve manipulated and started an affair with her new lawyer, David Adams, who fell for Eve's charms and tampered with evidence in the murder investigation of her dead lover, Robin. What did you think about that aspect of the storyline, and what was it like working with Richard Moss?
Richard was a sweetie. Richard is a sweetie. I was just thinking what a tangled web we do weave. And Eve had woven a very tangled web, very complicated. It was fun to work with him. And yeah, she was just a nasty sociopath, narcissist, psychopath person, and delicious to play.
Wasn't hard for anyone to fall for Eve's charms.
You're gorgeous.
Do you have any funny on-set stories at all that you remember, or secrets that you can tell the fans?
Well, the image of prisoner is, very hard women doing, time because of the wonderful Lurch. I love that woman. She was teaching all of us how to knit. So there'd be a big circle of women with knitting needles. I was a poor student, very, very poor. And she started me off on a weenie jumper for my little boy. And I could do the straight bits, but as far as arms, and she also created the most beautiful jumpers just out of her head. And I was honored to be wearing one of her jumpers, and she made one for my little boy, and we wore those until he was too big, and I just worn mine through. So yeah, it's the knitting circle, I think, that people may not necessarily first think of when they think of the prisoner cast.
Did you actually have any favourite writers or directors?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't have favourites. And I enjoyed all the directors. I'd worked with Sean Nash on Cop Shop.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was nice when he came back, when he came to Prisoner. No, I didn't have favourites. I thought the standard of writing was excellent, and really juicy storylines, and everybody got a good go.
Yeah. Do you have a special memory of Marietrevor at all?
Yes, I do.
You do?
I do, Matt. I do, and I just admire Marie so much. She was a woman in a still basically male-dominated field back then, and she was very fair. And I think a lot of people owe the beginning of their careers to Marie, for sure. Yeah,
that's great. Ken. Oh, sorry, no, it's me actually. Sorry, Ken.
Moving on, Pat.
Now, we know you're obviously close friends with Paula Duncan, but is there anyone else from prison that you're still in contact with that you see?
Well, I don't know. No, not really, but it's that sort of situation. Like when we did a young doctors get together about 6 years ago, and it was as though time had stood still. It was like there was no great chasm of time in between. You just go back to what you were back then. Similarly, when we had the prisoner get together, it was just, if you'd worked with those people, I hadn't worked with Amanda, for example, and she was part of the reunion. So it was nice to meet new people and catch up with other people and just feel completely at home with them.
Yeah.
And yeah. it was.
I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of casts say the same thing about catch-ups. They say, everything's just, it stood still in between. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know we all look different now, but there's, you sort of, you clock that for a second, that goes, and you're just back there with that person from 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah. Now, we know you said you haven't seen Wentworth yet, but do you know Tina Bursell took on the character of Eve Wilder?
I did not know that, and okay. I did not know that. I adore Tina. I've seen her quite a lot, in the ensuing years, but I didn't know she'd taken over that role. How lucky for Tina to have such a great role to play.
And also met with a gruesome ending, I will say, but I won't spoil it.
Indeed. Similar to Eve Wilder's, or?
Similar, but more gruesome. Yeah.
Oh, blimey.
Which you can't get any more gruesome than your ending, I have to say. Yeah. Okay, now just want to go over a couple of episodes, if that's okay. The first episode you appeared on was 574, which was first broadcast on the 26th of September 1985, written by Ian Coghlan and directed by Tony Ossica. You're brought to Wentworth on remand for a charge of murder and inducted by Meg Morris, who you protest your innocence to. And you're taken to see the governor, Anne Reynolds. And at first, Eve comes across all very soft and mild and nice. And
psychopath.
What are your memories of working with Ellsbeth and Gerda Nicholson?
Just joyful. I hold them both in my memory in such high esteem, both so professional. And I wanted to be Gerda when I grew up. I remember, every time we were in a set together, and I'd be sort of staring at her going, "You're so beautiful." And we did the same thing with Julia Blake. I remember a great deal was made of Julia Blake's bone structure. And, because I'd love working with Terry Norris, her husband, and Julia came into the show, and, she's such a fine actor and so beautiful. Those are my memories of working with Gerda and Ellsbeth, both fine women. And I can't believe that Gerda was taken from us at such a young age. Just so sad.
Yeah.
Episode 582 went to air on the 22nd of October 1985. It was written by Ian Coghlan and Gail Mellion, directed by Tony Ossica. This is the talent contest episode. Eve was in charge of the talent contest. Did you enjoy doing this episode? It looked like fun. What did you think of all the acts? Lois Colander, who we spoke to in episode 23 of Talking Prisoner, told us that no one knew what she was about to perform on the stage. Do you remember that?
Here is where my memory becomes an abyss of darkness, Ken. I don't remember. I have no excuse. I just don't remember. I do love Lois, but I as the wheels, go slowly through. It kind of comes back to me, and no, I don't believe any of us had any idea what she would be wearing. The cat is wonderful.
Yes, that's Carmen Miranda.
Yeah. And nice that Eve in her remand clothing, at least the other women got to wear something a bit nicer than their usual drab blues for a change. It was fun. It was the nice light hour that I watched last night.
Speaking of memories, I can't even remember what I did yesterday, so it's a big ask.
Thank you.
You guys for 40 years ago.
I can't remember what he did yesterday either.
Now, I do want to just read out this episode because this is a very big episode, and it was also your acting was just phenomenal. The way you portrayed Eve in these scenes were episode 586, which aired on the 31st of October, 1985, written by Alistair Webb and Kelly Birmingham, directed by Kendall Flanagan. Now, this is where we see how vicious Eve really is, and you had your first scene with Glenda Linscott in her first full episode as Rita. Then you discover that Mrs. Barry has been eavesdropping outside the interview room and is on to the fact that you have been lying about killing Robin and your relationship with the lawyer David Adams. And before she can report you to the governor, you attack her so badly that she is close to death. You steal her keys, drag her through the corridors into a cell where you attack her again with the jug kettle, and then make sure that Reb Keane, who actually found Mrs. Barry whilst on skip duty, gets the blame, jeopardizing her release from prison. Now, this was a horrific episode, and you and Joy Westmore were absolutely brilliant. What are your memories of working with Joy and filming those scenes?
Just how much I love her. I love working with Joy, and it was like everything we did that were entailed violence or harsh words. There was always that immediate, the moment the camera stopped rolling, are you all right? Are you all right? I'm so sorry. All right, you're right. So there was a lot of that, and Joy was saying, "You're horrible. You're a horrible person." I know I am. But as a challenge, as an acting exercise, it was terrific. But it was brutal as all get out. And you're right. I think that's the nastiest we ever got to see Eve Wilder, physically at least.
I mean, that door that you were using with the interview room and just crushing her head, and the sound, and it was unbelievable.
I know. And it's, I mean, obviously all health and safety considerations were looked after on set, but one slip and it could have been bloody awful.
Yeah. And what were you dragging through the corridor? Was it just like a dummy, or was
it was her?
I was actually
dragging Joy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow. Not much fun for Joy. And then she had to wear a wig.
Yeah, the wig
afterwards.
It was a really bad wig.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't good.
Did you at the time cop any public backlash from the public, trying to kill off one of the fan favorite officers?
Not that I recall, Matt. No, not that I can recall.
Yeah,
I don't remember. But then, mind you, my life was, after Prisoner was blinkered and just fully focused on my little boy and not really aware of much outside. And it's not like today where social media, they would have lacerated me. I would have been heaped on. But no, we didn't. I mean, it had to be, people really wanted to express their furious indignation. They would have had to handwrite a letter.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't cop too much of that.
And just for the fans, do you have a rough memory of how long it would have taken to film that scene with Joy, doing the interview room?
Oh, it was quite a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite a long time because we had to, film her listening, and Eve's cogs whirling around and what's she going to do about this, and then the actual assault on her, and then the next assault on her, and then the dragging her through the corridors. So it was, I would say it was a good part of a day that we spent doing that. Yeah. In my Trent Nathan. suit.
Episode 600 aired on the 20th of February 1986. It was written by Ian Smith and directed by the redoubtable Steve Mann. Lou's riot episode. After Alice passes on the information about Eve, Lou checks out Lexi's escape route with Julie and then decides to punish Eve and those who broke the hunger strike. She tells Alice Eve is dead. A riot led by Lou erupts in Wentworth, putting several inmates and officers' lives in danger. Lou has Eve brought to the dining room where Lou has her strung up to the ceiling in front of everyone. Lou has her strung up. Lou holds her own version of a kangaroo court. Alice tells her to cut it out, and if she's going to do it. She says she'll do it all right. And when Eve is found inevitably guilty, Lou callously pulls the chair away, killing Eve instantly. She then decides to get a few of her helpers to take Eve to her own cell and string her up there to make the murder look like suicide. And she is later discovered by Mr. Moran and Mervyn. What was it like filming the very disturbing hanging scene? And can you talk us through the logistics of how it was set up and filming it? Louise Siverson was particularly terrifying in those brilliant episodes, or those brilliant scenes. Louise mentioned in episode 5 of Talking Prisoner that she found that scene very hard to shoot, as it was horrific, as the crew did as well.
Yeah, it's and while I might have memory lapses, I do recall that day, and I remember how careful Steve, the director, was about safety. And we had some stunt people on set to make sure the harness worked. So we had a few practice hangings, and, you know, I have to say that, you know, it's acting, but it still felt weird to have a thick rope around, or maybe it was cloth around my neck, anything around my neck. And then when Lou did eventually pull the chair away, it was, you know, and Steve had been quite specific about the way I had to look when I was dead. And so, you know, it was like all the minutiae was thought about. And I suppose the most confronting bit of doing that, even though it's you know, you're talking words as a character, was being up on that table and the kangaroo court with all the negative energy around Eve Wilder at that time. And so, you know, that was a tiny bit confronting, absolutely. And then anyway, she was gone. And then I had to be dragged through the corridors. Oh my God, dragged around. I was painted grey, and I mean, it just seemed like forever that I was being dragged and dragged and dragged. I don't remember being hung in my cell, though. I have no memory of that. I just remember the hanging and then the dragging stuff, but not that bit.
Wow. It's probably one of the most talked about deaths on Prisoner, that the hanging of Eve Wilder. Everyone chats about it. All the fans talk about it, and just talk about how brilliant your acting was, and, you know, the whole time you're in the show. Yeah. But,
thank you so much.
Horrific.
It was they had to put warnings on the TV program saying, you know, restricted viewing or whatever. I can't remember the actual wording, but yeah, they did do that then.
Yeah. What was it like working?
I've still not shown my.
Sorry.
What, love?
Sorry, you can.
Oh, I was going to say, I still haven't shown my once little boy, now 37-year-old. I still haven't shown him that bit. Not that I would show him anything anyway, but yeah, it's I know it's a performance, but yeah, you don't want to see your mum like that.
What was it like working back with Peter Adams at the time?
I don't think Peter and I had a lot to do with each other because, you know, depending on the call sheet, you'd be working primarily with certain actors, but you may not even see other actors. And, you know, I mean, I was there when his gorgeous wife, Kirsty Child, love that woman, I was there. I think she left just as I sort of come in. Yeah. So I spent more time with Kirsty than I did with Peter.
Yeah. Yeah, she played a great character on Prisoner, Willie Beecham. Yeah.
So many great women.
Yeah, definitely. Now, just fan questions before we wrap up, if that's okay. The first one is from Janice Robinson, who's actually our behind-the-scenes producer, said, did you know from the start that Eve was going to be the Phantom Lagger? And would you ever consider returning to acting?
No, I didn't know that Eve was going to become the Phantom Lagger. And when I read the script, I knew things were about to get a whole lot uglier from that point on. Would I return to acting? It's not a door I've closed forever. And, you know, as I said, I really enjoyed my little gig on Crawl, and, you know, to be able to do something like that every now and again would be so fabulous. Yeah. I mean, every time I go to the theatre, and I go a lot, I feel very wistful about, I think, oh, I want to play. Yeah.
I've got a comment from Mickey C, who says, had the pleasure of meeting Lynda at a prisoner event in Sydney back in 2019. Such an incredibly warm and generous person. Her words on the day gave me a lot to think about in regards to animal rights and what we can do to support the cause.
That's so lovely. Thank you. And that was a great day, that prisoner reunion. And if he would like to check out the Animal Liberation website, then it's an excellent website, and we keep it very up to date, and everything to do with the rights of animals you'll find in the body of that website. From greyhound racing to circuses, just the whole spectrum of how we exploit animals. It's a very good resource.
Yeah. Just on greyhound racing, just for a minute, what were your thoughts when Sydney banned it, but then unbanned it? Like, what was the...
Matt, I remember being in the office, and word came through that that Mr. Baird had banned it, and there'd been no sort of fanfare. It just happened, and we were euphoric. We were beside ourselves with joy. And then, of course, the then opposition leader succumbed to the very vitriolic pro-greyhound people. And Mike Baird sadly lost his job. I think he was a fine premier. So, oftentimes it's those who shout the loudest that are, listened to, when the great percentage of Australian people want greyhound racing banned, as indeed it is all around the world. I mean, America was the first place for greyhound racing, and now they only have about 3 tracks. And one of the higher ups of the greyhound industry said, a couple of weeks ago that, there'll come a time when greyhound racing will just become a distant, horrible memory. So I can't wait for that to happen here. But I mean, like with every kind of animal exploitation, these industries are propped up with our money. Our taxpayer funds prop up the dairy industry, meat industries, the greyhound industry, and horse racing. So, you don't hear about tomato growers getting, grants or people like that. It's always animal exploitation industries that are propped up with money that comes from our taxes, which makes me ill.
And then all the money they make from the gambling of it as well.
And all the gambling problems that are associated with these things too.
Yeah, very sad. Stuart Kerry said, fabulous. One of the very best latest storylines, and Lynda played the role to perfection, completely compelling. There are some incredible scenes with Maggie, Joy, Louise, Lois, and David Moss. Did you realise from the beginning just how manipulative Eve would become as a character?
I knew she was a bad one, but no, I didn't really know how bad she was going to get. But as an actor, the better she got, the more fun she was to play, perversely. No, I had no idea. And that's very lovely to say that. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it.
Max Dweeb also comments, yes, absolutely loved this character. You played her brilliantly, completely had us fooled to begin with. Did you know the storyline and what kind of character she was going to become from the beginning?
I knew that she was going to be messy, but no, I didn't realise just how messy she would eventually become. That surprised me as well.
Yeah.
Max also comments that he asked, was it your decision to leave Prisoner? But what a way to go. Absolutely shocking and thrilling, award-winning in my opinion, says he.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. I do appreciate that. Genuinely appreciate that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a common comment. I mean, if you notice on a lot of the YouTube episodes that you're in, a lot of the comments are about how brilliant your acting was and your portrayal of that character.
So lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
John Harrell said, can you tell Lynda she's a fantastic actress and her portrayal of Eve was superb. She went from soft Snow White to evil, aggressive Eve. What was it like filming scenes with Peter Adams' character, Bob Moran, which we just spoke about, who I think was very likable as the new prison governor, who I wish would have been a permanent character. However, he went from uniform and sort of disappeared, which we know. But there is a...
Yeah. Peter Adams was a great actor, really great. I mean, he made it look easy, and I loved working with Pete on Cop Shop, you know. Yeah, a fine actor who also has left us way too young.
Jay Shaw says, hi, Lynda. How physical and mentally demanding was the scene when you bashed Joyce? Well, I would have thought it was pretty demanding on Joyce. It was amazing acting from you both. Can I also ask, did you audition for any other role on Prisoner?
No, I didn't. I didn't audition for anything. I was just given the role by Marietrevor, and yeah, it was quite a taxing day for Joycey and me, but enormously satisfying and not fun to do. It was, you know, we were both stretched to do that. It was challenging in a good way.
Yeah. Dave Metcalf said, such a great guest to get, guys. Could you ask Lynda what it was like to play such a temptress? Did she enjoy working with Lois and Louise, Lurch and Lou, and the rest of the cast? And more importantly, what was it like working with the great Pat Evison, who played Jessie Wyndham? I'd imagine she was a lot of fun to share scenes with. And that's also a fan question from Martin Dugan about Pat, if you have any memories of Pat.
No, again, I can't really separate any, like, you know, as with the Young Doctors cast and the Cop Shop cast, I can't separate people out. I can't say that working with somebody else was better than somebody else, because it was a joy to work with all of them. You know, I took away great memories of those women and what a joy it was to work with them. And I did really, you know, I mean, nothing to me was more important than my son. But there was, you know, to be honest, there was a part of me that would have loved to have gone on with Prisoner. I would have loved it. But at the time, my little boy was so little, and my husband's gorgeous daughters were only, you know, like 11 and 12, and they were too young for us to be in a different state to them. So, yeah, so there was no option. But I would have relished having, you know, even 3 months more of playing Eve. Yeah.
Could you have stayed on if you wanted to stay on? Was there that option?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Geez, that would have been interesting to see.
I know.
I
know. And they held the top dog they wanted me to be. That's right.
Oh, wow.
So that would have been an interesting fight with Lou and me about top dog. But they were going to make me top dog.
Wow.
Yeah. I know. So many reasons to stay.
And you can imagine Eve becoming top dog.
I know.
For sure.
She would be a piece of work.
Wow. Amazing.
That's a little exclusive from us then.
Yeah, I never knew that.
Yep. Yeah.
David Collins says, Lynda is a wonderful animal rights activist. My question is, how did she feel during the hanging scene? I know that she would have had a safety harness on, but that takes some bravado to perform.
Thank you for that, David. I felt that I was in the very best of hands with our director, Steve, and the all safety precautions were taken, but nothing can take away that weird feeling of having something tight around your neck. It's just, it's just something you want to. I don't even like wearing choker necklaces. Maybe Prisoner did that for me. That's their legacy. Yeah, not a fan of choking.
Yeah. A lot of the questions were about your demise, and Ollie James said it's the phantom lagger. Yes. Hi, Lynda. Eve was quite the evil temptress. She bashed Officer Barry, had men wrapped around her finger, lied and cheated. He also talked about, the ending and your demise. So we've covered that.
Yeah. Piece of work, she was.
Bonnie Davis Shacko just says this. So happy to hear this one.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Martin James B said, I bet the scene where you bashed Joyce behind the door was an emotional one to film. How do you keep your emotions on set when playing such a vicious character? Did Eve have a good side? Well, we're not sure.
No, not at all. That's completely monstrous. Joy Bell and I were very fond of each other, and she made me laugh a lot. That counted anything. But, when you're doing stuff like that, you're actually in it. You're in it. You have to feel that rage, that compulsion to hurt. You have to. And then you slough it off with your costume. It's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James Murphy says, what a beautiful and talented lady. Did you know how dark your storyline would get? And did you feel comfortable filming such a gruesome ending for Eve? Well, I think you've probably answered.
Yeah. Thank you.
Darren Hembro said, amazing, truly amazing. I'm so excited to watch this interview. As a fellow animal rights and animal equality person myself, I'm vegan. I'd love to know how much progress is being made in Australia, and does she go international with her efforts?
Thank you for the question, and lovely to be hearing from a kindred spirit. We focus on what's happening in Australia because people have this view that Australia is, very civilized and we've got strong rules in place for animals, and nothing couldn't be further from the truth. As Gandhi said, a country is treated by the way in which it treats its animals, or country is ethical, whatever, something like that. Thank you, Gandhi. And we are so lagging behind in Australia in all areas of factory farming and laboratory animals are used for entertainment all across the board. We have this thing called pig dogging, which is legal in Australia, where you can set dogs onto live pigs and then you take a knife and you stab them to death. that's how far we've come in Australia. So rather than going, overseas, I mean, apart from my my time in Canada, which was focused on the seals, there's too much to do in this country. We have so far to go. So no, Australia's my focus. Yeah. And thank you for the question.
Andy Dolman says, it was great watching some early Kim Barrington in the DVD release of Doctors recently. Lynda is a very talented actor, and this really came across in her role as Nurse Kim in those 1977 episodes.
That's so lovely. Thank you. I deeply appreciate that. And, that was a happy time of my life as well.
And I must add, there was a lot more comments to say the same thing. Obviously, we're not going to put all the same thing in, but there was many more comments.
Thank you.
Saying the same thing about you.
Can
you help me out with this surname? Terry, this is a...
no, I'm not going to help you out.
You're not going to help me out? All right, thank you. Thank you. We'll just say Terry Warazik. Yes, I'm sure he will let us know if it's wrong. Question for Lynda from Terry. Hi, Lynda. How do you hold in regard the movie Turkey Shoot 1982, in which you starred in your acting career? I personally love the film, as well as all the stars like Roger Ward, Carmen Duncan, and yourself.
Fabulous actors. Quentin Tarantino this is absolute truth, is the biggest fan of Turkey Shoot, or Turkey Shit, as I think of it. It was, look, I don't want to denigrate anyone's taste. And if people enjoyed the film, fantastic. Absolutely. Job done. That's good. I adored working with Carmen Duncan. Love that woman. And she played this crazy lesbian huntress who... when she'd finally tracked my character down, we had to do a retake in New South Wales. We were filming up in Queensland. We had to do a retake of this particular one, and so there was blood all around me, and I was covered in this yellow jumpsuit, and there was blood, and she's there with a knife, and then a police helicopter flew up above us. I'm not surprised they were concerned. So yeah, and that's kind of interesting that Mr. Tarantino has such high regard for Turkey Shoot, but it was fun to do, and yeah, not everybody's taste, perhaps.
Wow, I didn't know that about Quentin. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's the last fan question. Is there anything that we can share with the fans that you're working on currently that we could promote for you?
Nothing outside my work with animal liberation. That occupies my heart and my mind, every single day. And I'm so lucky that, to have the crew that I've got. Half of our team are in Melbourne and half are in Sydney, and we closed our offices just after COVID began, because we found that we could do Zoom meetings, and it was more inclusive, because it meant that our Melbourne colleagues, so we have fortnightly staff meetings, and we now do our public meetings once every 3 months online via Zoom. So it was a great way to save money. It saves us money and time. The commute, for some people was like 3 hours a day. And so all of that, this is one of the happier sides of COVID, is that people are finding much more flexibility. And so sorry, I think I rambled quite off point there. Yeah.
But it's true about the pandemic. It has brought out some good things for people.
Yes,
as well.
Yes, it has. It really, really has.
Yeah.
And it's great that our little charity, who receives no government funding, means we can save on rent and recycle bins, electricity, stuff like that. And we can refine it down to just spending it on campaigns, which is more important than anything. So, yep, that's me.
And the web address again, just for everyone, if you can just...
Yep, www.al.org.au.
Fantastic.
I put another letter on previously. That was our old website, but that's the current one, al.org.au.
Fantastic.
Or just type in Animal Liberation, New South Wales.
And it comes straight to the top.
Thank you for putting the website up. That's lovely.
We will. And it's been an absolute honour to speak to you and learn about your life and career, and also for what you do now for the animal rights and everything that you do. We thank you. It's
been a joy. I've loved speaking with both of you. It's just been a tonic and just given me so much happiness. And I, as everyone who had any involvement with Prisoner, I think we will, always remain grateful to the amount of people who so embraced that show and to whom it meant so much and continues to mean so much. So I do thank you both for the privilege of coming on your program. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Talking Prisoner also is the happier side of COVID.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Lynda.
Yes, that's true.
We were born out of COVID.
Yeah. So good. Stay safe, both of you.
Thank you.
And I was going to say thank you for the memories, because you have engendered memories that, it's been lovely, just lovely to immerse myself in that time again. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. You're welcome back anytime. That was episode 33 of Talking Prisoner. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our channel also. And we're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the social media platforms. And you can also find this episode of Talking Prisoner on all the podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and all the rest of them, and the talkingprisoner.com website. Thank you so much, Lynda.
Thank you.